How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? It feels good to be a Bulls fan right now, doesn't it? I know the Bulls lost the other night. I know they're 5-1, which is something that feels very rare to say these days, but this Bulls team is bringing us back and making us enjoy the game of basketball once again. And while it might seem a little early in the season to be doing this, you guys know I occasionally do a hot takes video throughout the season where I react to your hottest Bulls takes. And given the start of the Bulls and how they've kicked off this season, I want to hear from you guys and where your heads are at with this team. And boy, did we get some fire takes. There were a lot of similar ones, so I tried to consolidate where I could, but in any event, let's dive right into some of these takes, shall we? So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. I know we've got a lot of new Bulls fans around here given the hot start, so if you're new around here to the channel, be sure to subscribe as I'll be covering this team all season long, a season that is shaping up to be a fun one. With our first take, we've got this one, and I used to read the names, but then YouTube changed it to user handles, which sometimes just provides a bunch of numbers, so I'll just read off the take. But this one says, the Billy Donovan extension will be a brilliant one looking back. So I said in one of my recent videos, as critical as I've been of Billy Donovan over the years, you have to give credit where credit is due. And a lot of the Bulls' success so far this season, as well as the end of last season, goes to Billy Donovan. He has coached his ass off and has gotten the most out of these young players and gotten the most out of a roster that doesn't have any clear star level player. Now, sure, maybe the Bulls get an all-star this season, especially with the way they've been playing, but going into the season, that was the biggest knock on this team, was that they didn't have any star talent. Billy has been able to make all of the pieces fit together, and what I always find impressive about Donovan as a coach is his adaptability in taking the personnel he has and altering the schemes based on his players' skill sets. And you also have to give him and his staff credit for the development of some of these young guys, most notably Modest, Josh Giddey, Coby, and Io. So yes, while we were frustrated with the extension when that was announced because of the Bulls' mediocre seasons they've had over his tenure, I think it's clear now this is going to pay off for the Bulls in the long run. This next one says Patrick Williams will work his way back into the starting lineup and has a career year. Yeah, no, I mean, as good as Pat has looked this season, and so far, he has been leaps and bounds better than we saw last year. He's been much better suited coming off the bench. I feel like Pat is more comfortable in a reserve role anyway, and on top of that, who's he replacing in the starting lineup? He's not taking Modest's spot. Is he replacing Isaac Okoro, who has been the defensive anchor in that starting unit and a big reason why teams have been shooting so poorly from three-point range against the Bulls? Now, I think that Pat will have one of his better seasons, but he's going to be coming off the bench this year. Next, this one says Tre Jones is better than Coby White. Oh, man. I mean, I'm all for giving Tre Jones his flowers, and as I've said before, I still owe this guy a dedicated video, especially when you consider his pathway to the NBA and where he finds himself today. But yeah, this was a bit over the top. Now, you can say maybe Tre Jones fits better in the starting lineup because he provides more defensive intensity and a higher IQ on that end of the floor, but no. I think people forget how good Coby White is. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind right now with Coby, and because the Bulls have been doing so well without him, it's kind of like, oh, well, do we actually need Coby White? No, Coby is still a very good player, a pure scorer, excellent outside shooter, incredible ball handler. I like Tre Jones, and I think he's incredibly underrated and is now on one of the best contracts in the league, but Coby White is still the better player. Next, somewhat related here, signing Coby White back to the Bulls for a long-term deal will be the new Zach LaVine contract that we will get stuck with for a long time. Now, this one I can somewhat agree with, and I've hinted at this over the offseason. Given how the Bulls have started off this year, I'm likely going to have to do a video on this topic specifically, but Coby White's impending free agency and the amount of money he's going to command does worry me a bit. Now, it's not going to be a max contract like the Bulls gave Zach LaVine, which I still maintain was the Bulls' biggest mistake. Not necessarily the contract itself, but the Bulls building around Zach LaVine instead of trading him when he was at his peak value after making his first All-Star team and before he was due for that extension. And while I don't think it's going to be the same extent with Coby, because Coby isn't going to get max level money, he's also going to get something in the range of $35 million a year, maybe more depending on how he plays. And for the Bulls, who are going into this offseason with ample cap room, have already shown early signs of success, they really do need to be careful in how they approach Coby's contract situation and seriously consider if it makes more financial sense for them to trade him while his value is high before extending him to a large long-term deal. Again, all of it depends on the type of trade package you can get for Coby. You obviously don't want to move him for pennies on the dollar and take a bunch of distressed assets, but if we're talking about multiple first-round picks I don't see how you can't consider that, knowing you're going to have to commit long-term money to this guy beyond this season. I don't think it'll be as bad as Zach LaVine in that situation because, again, Coby's not going to get max money. What screwed the Bulls was they gave LaVine a max contract when they were in a bird rights trap, and then the new CBA came shortly thereafter where all the new apron rules were introduced, and then no one wanted to touch that contract of Zach LaVine, despite Zach still being a fine player. So I don't think it would get to that level, and hopefully whatever number they do sign Coby to, if they re-sign him, would still be a tradable contract down the line in today's CBA. How about this one? Bulls won the Vucevic trade. Oh boy. You're going to bring back some PTSD for some Bulls fans, and you're going to make me bring up what I've said in the past that oftentimes makes them more angry. But as I've said before, the Vucevic trade at the time that it was made was the right value for a player of Vucevic's caliber. Now, that doesn't mean that it was the right trade for the Bulls. If anything, it really didn't make sense for a team that was still rebuilding at the time, decided to make an aggressive win-now move by trading 2 first-round picks for a 30-year-old big man, but they did it because they were worried about losing LaVine in free agency if they didn't start making win-now plays. But trading 2 first-round picks, protected picks by the way, top 4 protected, but they were still protected, 2 first-round picks and a young injury-prone player who hasn't really amounted to much in the NBA since being traded, Wendell Carter Jr., for a player who just made the All-Star team, coming off a season where he was averaging near 25 and 12 on 40% shooting from 3, is fair value. In fact, there have been plenty of players who have gone for a lot more than Vucevic did in trade deals since then, like Gobert going to the Wolves for 5 first-round picks, Mikal Bridges going to the Knicks for 6 first-round picks, Desmond Bane 4 first-round picks. So no, it wasn't as egregious of a trade as Bulls fans made it out to be. It didn't work out because of the way the team was built thereafter and wasn't a good fit. And of course, the Magic got Franz Wagner with one of those picks who I'm sure the Bulls would love to have on their roster. But I'm sure this hot take is coming up now because the Magic are struggling and are looking like a team that can't get over the hump, while Vucevic, even though he's not an all-star anymore, is still a very solid big man and has been a big piece in the Bulls getting off to this 5-1 start. So I won't say the Bulls won the Vucevic trade because the trade itself and what the trade was designed to do did not work out. But Vucevic has been solid for the Bulls nonetheless and is putting together yet another great season. This next one is interesting. Whose team is it now when Coby gets back on the court? I honestly feel like this is Josh Giddey's team now. Well, to me, the beauty of this team and why we've seen this early success is that this isn't really any one player's team, but rather they play by committee. They play as a collective unit. There's no one person for which they need to get their shots up. They play unselfish team basketball. It's why they're one of the top teams in the league in passing and assist rate because the ball is always moving. It's not sticking to one specific player. And I love that. Like, yes, eventually you need to get to a point where it's clear who the number 1 option is, who the best player is. Every team needs that star to really thrive, but the Bulls aren't there yet. I wouldn't say it's Coby or Giddey's team. I think this is a team that has great chemistry and plays for each other, and that's not something we could have said about this Bulls team in years past. How about this one? The Bulls are better without Coby White, because without him, there's a more defensive backcourt with Giddey being the engine of the team and Trey being the defensive side. I mean, it's going to be interesting when Coby does come back, which hopefully will be soon, and seeing how he gels with this team and adapts to him being in the starting lineup, because there is an element of defensive IQ that Tre Jones possesses that Coby White does not. However, to say the Bulls are better without Coby White is a massive stretch, and don't get me wrong, I love Tre Jones, but Tre Jones is a role player, a guy who plays his role well. Towards the end of the season last year, Coby was looking like an all-star, Eastern Conference Player of the Month. He's a very good player who knows how to score and has insane handles. Yeah, the defense is a problem, but what I respect about Coby is he tries on that end of the floor. He hustles, fights for loose balls. He's got the lateral quickness to stay in front of his man. He's not going to be the defensive player Tre Jones is, not to say that Tre Jones is some elite level defensive player, but he's going to elevate the Bulls game offensively. And I don't think it's accurate or fair to say, well, clearly the Bulls don't need Coby based on how they're playing. Saying this when we haven't even seen Coby take the floor yet this season and seeing how he jives with this group. Like, yes, if Coby comes back and there's a noticeable difference in the Bulls' level of play on defense and the Bulls start struggling and start stacking a bunch of losses when Coby's in the starting lineup, then sure, then we need to have a conversation. But we haven't seen Coby play yet this year. Let's see how this whole thing transpires once Coby is back in the lineup. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end it there for this edition of Your Bulls Hot Takes. Let me know what you guys thought of some of these takes and whether you agree or disagree with my assessment of it. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.